Yo, Multiplier here, as usual, but I bought myself a toy. It's one of the Ableton push things, and I must say, it's one of the coolest things I've ever bought, and it's pretty game-changing for me in terms of producing music, writing music, and also eventually kind of playing out live with my DJ sets as well. So instead of kind of running you through kind of the wide range of features and things it can do, because it can do an awful lot, to be honest, a lot more than I thought it could do when I first kind of decided to buy it. What I thought I'd do is run you through my 5 kind of favourite things about it, the most awesomest things about it, having played with it for a day or so. And yeah, most of these are pretty massively awesome things, really. So yeah, let's get straight into it. So first of all, I'd say the first most awesomest thing would be this kind of, I don't even know what they call it, kind of note mode for playing instruments. So instead of having like a keyboard, what they've got are these 64 kind of pads. And instead of just having, say, like A, B, C, D, E, and so on, all the way up, they've kind of packed it all together in a kind of unusual way that makes it really easy to play kind of cool chords and melodies and keep everything in key. So if you notice when I hit a button, which I think for like in this case, if you're somewhere near the middle, 3 kind of green things pop up. So wherever that green thing pops up, it's exactly the same note. So it's not just literally kind of like the notes laid out in order. They're kind of, I think if you go up, kind of goes up in the scale. But you can kind of basically ignore that and just kind of stick your hands on the keys in certain ways and certain patterns and see what happens. So you can just kind of almost make up really awesome like chord progressions and melodies kind of on the fly, and everything will stay exactly in the key you choose. That's kind of the other super important thing. So just give it a go. I mean, you could do something like, and it'll just kind of work. Or you could do like, it just kind of works. And you can choose different scales with a scale button. So you've got all the different types of scales from like major, minor, Dorian, Mixolydian, Lydian, Phrygian, Skrillex, Locrian, diminished, half tone, minor blues, minor pentonic, etc. You've got Steve Aoki, you've got Afro Jack, got pretty all the major scales really. And then of course you can choose the actual like note of the scale. So let's go back up to major and say major G. Cool, and now everything will be in G. And then you can kind of move it up or an octave down or whatever you need to, like. And just kind of works. It's pretty cool. It's kind of until you have a play about on it, you forget kind of. It's hard to kind of appreciate how awesome it is. Obviously, if you know kind of how to play the keyboard and you're a musically person, you don't really need this, simply because you'll just know where to kind of put your fingers on the keyboard to make cool sounds come out. But for someone like me who just can't play the keyboard, I don't know how keys work, this is kind of awesome. It just means I could say have a proper jam session, come up with loads of ideas, and then I can just kind of pick the coolest ones and going to save so much time. I'm pretty stoked. So yeah, that's kind of the first awesome feature. Just kind of mode. And I should probably figure out what is cool, but I'm going to call it mega note mode for now. So yeah, so the next coolest feature is probably the fact you can actually make a whole song without looking at the computer, which is the first time one bit of equipment that's like aimed at Ableton and the kind of the digital DAW market, it's the first time you can actually do all that. So there's always been like MPCs and APC-40s and machines and all sorts of cool stuff that kind of does a lot of cool stuff by itself, but you'd always need a computer or you need a few other bits of gear to kind of make a track. You can do everything with this, from kind of layering out your beats to kind of coming up with chord progressions, breakdowns, coming up with lots of ideas, arrangements, even basic to even slightly advanced mixing. Do all of it right in here. It's amazing. And yeah, it's so many kind of hidden features, and there's a bit of getting used to the interface because there's lots of things that you kind of have to figure out, like there's a shift key which does certain things in certain situations, and like recording the automation, I haven't even figured out how to do that, but you can do all this amazing stuff all literally on this device. So I mean, depending on how much you want to use it, you could make the whole song pretty much in a session mode almost, or then record it back into arrangement. You can basically do whatever you want, but it's awesome how much you can do with this thing. It's amazing. But yeah, just check out the videos from other people. I know I think it's the 7th Ableton one, it's called 7 Workflow. It kind of shows you reasonably quickly in about 10 minutes or so kind of the process of building up a track. But yeah, it's awesome stuff, seriously. It's not just a machine style or kind of drum pad or a sequencer. You can do all your arrangements and mixing in it as well. It's super, super good. So I'd say the next coolest thing, in fact, this kind of point number 3 is a lot cooler than point number 1. I mean, point number 2. Point number 1 is probably the best, and now the second best will be this point number 3. Should have done them in a different order, but I don't really plan this shit. It's going to be the visual feedback. So you notice, for example, I mean, even just showing you this, you got all these different colours, which is just makes life so much easier than if you were used to, say, an APC-40. But it's stuff like if we bring up a drum rack, so add track, go to drum rack, and let's pick one of the glitch hop kits that I built from samples people sent me. So we're now in kind of drum rack mode. So we've got like then we've got a step sequencer up here. So let's say we just get like just get some kicks going. And let's say we want to kind of layer some hi-hatty things and like record them in. It's pretty cool, right? So hopefully the GoPro can kind of pick up the colours well enough. But you'll notice in all the kind of hi-hat things I kind of manually played in, all the velocity information is kind of stored in how bright the blue is. So especially when you've got kind of the lights down in the studio, you can really see these different colours of blue really well, and it allows you to really pick up, say, let's say you're going to kind of hear in the pattern one of the notes needs the velocity information kind of changed a bit because it's not quite loud enough. You can just kind of hit it and then kind of tweak the velocity a bit, and you can get the feedback as well from the colours. So just a really nice way to kind of interact with your music, interact with your stuff. And yeah, it actually allows you to see what's going on, because before, all this kind of gear with the APC-40 or whatever just didn't give you enough visual feedback. You were always having to kind of work with the computer. But with this, you don't really even need the computer at all. And even if we say hop over into session mode, let's lay out a few clips that illustrate this. Let's just insert some clips. So let's say you had a load of ideas out. Let's change these colours to something you can actually see. Yeah, you might not be able to see too much in this light because it's daytime and you can't really see the colours, but you'll notice each of these clips is the same colour as it would be on your kind of Ableton Live screen. So it means in this session view, if you're, say, arranging ideas, or even if you're playing out live and you're trying to trigger clips and loops and stuff for your individual tracks, you can actually see and have kind of a feel from like where you are in the project. Because with the APC-40 you had like 3 colours, and you'd have to kind of, as you were scrolling through all your kind of 8 tracks, you'd have to kind of remember which track was getting moved to where, and because it was all the same colour, you just have no idea. So with this, it's all that visual feedback information makes it a lifesaver, and it will actually allow me to use this thing playing out live as well. So it's amazing stuff. So yeah, that's the third most awesomest point. So now we're going to go to probably awesomest point number 4, because 4 comes after 3. It's going to be the build quality. Something that, I mean, I knew it was going to be pretty good because Kai were making it, but this thing is kind of sturdy as fuck, dude. It's got a bit of weight to it, which is a pro and a con, but it's just amazing build quality. It's got a lovely kind of matte, slightly rubberized but not proper rubbery kind of metallic finish. All the buttons are just like amazing quality. They've got a little bit of squish, so it kind of doesn't hurt your fingers if you bash it hard, but they're kind of got nice firm amount of spring to them, just like an MPC pad would. So you can bash away at them and you don't feel like all the squish in the rubber is like reducing the amount of control you have. And you can adjust all the things like the velocity curve. So if, say, when you're bashing it, you're doing your finger drumming or whatever, you want to change the velocity curve, just so you can kind of suits the way you play and how hard you hit them. You can do all that. You can also adjust all the sensitivity of the pads as well, so you have a lot of fine-tuned control over that. These pads have come an awful long way over the last few years, and they're just amazing stuff. And even down to these kind of endless encoders at the top, they're just perfect little things. I mean, I've spent so much money on like the S4 and stuff, and loads of like top-end gear, but these control, these pads, all these buttons seems better quality than all of that. So it's a phenomenal build quality. Mad props and ting to a Kai on that. And yeah, final most awesomest point. I stuck this at the end simply because it's not relevant to everyone. Well, not directly relevant, but just how kind of expandable and kind of moddable this thing is. So because of the format, the fact you've literally just got like 64 kind of buttons just laid out in this square, you got all these extra little buttons, and you got these kind of unmarked encoders at the top. Just means stuff like if Ableton wants to kind of add a new feature, you're not going to need to buy a new bit of gear. They're just going to change the firmware, change the software in Ableton, and then your controller that you bought a year or two ago is going to have a whole new feature without you having to actually buy a new piece of gear. So it's kind of the flexibility, the upgradability, all that kind of stuff is just awesome in this thing. And not to mention, if you kind of know what you're doing with Max for Live, or you're a proper techie, you could probably mod this thing to hell. I mean, I've seen people playing Tetris on this thing, so I'm pretty sure if you really wanted to, you could majorly fuck with this thing and create your own piece of awesomeness, really. But yeah, it's super awesome. And what I'll probably do is, once I've kind of got a better feel for it, and it's a week or two in and I've really got a feel for this thing, I start to knock up some tutorials for this awesome bit of gear, because already I've come up with some pretty cool tutorial ideas, because it's yeah, there's some amazing stuff you can do with this thing. And I'm totally building this into the way I make music, because as much as I like just having a nice simple setup with like not really using my keyboard too much and just using the trackpad, there's certain things I just don't really incorporate into my music as much because of that. And hopefully this thing will really help. But yeah, it's been the 5 most awesomest points. So throw in a little bonus thing. Yeah, why not? I'll show you a little cool little bonus thing. So let's move across to the drum loop. So I'll just get rid of everything. Go back to the kicks, say. So at the moment we got just the 4 on the floor kicks. Oh, there's something else going on as well. There we go, get rid of that. So let's say we want some snares. If you notice how the snares are kind of, we've drawn them in but they're not quite where they should be, we want to kind of nudge them or bring them forward, or back, depending on how you look at things. I think forward is the right way to think about it. You kind of hold all 4, you can just kind of nudge it. Hopefully the GoPro picked that up. But now I've brought the snares forward and they're happening just before the kicks, and now everything's perfectly in time. So you just got an insane amount of control, way more control than you would initially think. It's not just a simple on the grid step sequencer. Not to mention you can change the divisions and do whatever mad shit you want, but 1/16 is normally where we leave it. But yeah, been multiplier. It's been my 5 most awesomest things about Push. Hopefully you guys liked it, and if any of you guys have Pushes already, please do hit me up with your kind of most requested tutorials, because although I'll come up with a load of ideas for myself, I'd be interested to see kind of what you think about it and the things you're having troubles with or things you want to know more about. So should be cool. And yeah, bang in.